So, all sins are formulated in the realm of thought. And that's what the master is saying. All sins are formulated in the realm of thought, even when not acted upon. So our master is calling us really to control our own thoughts. Can I say that again? Since we're talking about the mind, he said it goes, it doesn't go into his mind, but into his stomach, right? He's saying that what proceeds out of the man, out of the mind of the man, that is what defiles the mind. So instead, he's not, remember, get out here, he's not talking about what is kosher or what is not kosher. He's talking about, listen, the issue is about washing your hands to eat kosher meat. That's what he's talking about. But he said, listen, what is more important is purity of the mind. That's what Rabbi Yeshua, he's raising the bar. And so he's saying to us, all sins are formulated in the realm of thought. We think about it. All right, even when we don't act about it, it's in our mind. As we have to say, you can't stop the birds from flying over your head, but you could prevent them from building a nest. We're going to get into that some more, right? So now you know Proverbs 4:23. All right, guard your heart. Your heart, what do you mean guard your heart? Guard your mind, because out of it comes the issues of life. The issues of life comes out of our mind. Stop thinking heart. Protocol is not a biological heart, all right? And not heart like it wishy-washy. It is the mind. We're talking about thoughts here. So love the Lord with all your what? Your heart, with all your mind. Think about how you're loving God. That's what he said. Think about how you're loving God. Don't just do this thing mindlessly. Love him with all your heart. Put your thought into loving God. That's what he's saying, right? And then and in Proverbs 23:7, we have this other text. As a man thinks in his mind, so is he. As he thinks in his mind, all right? And now you can understand Psalms 19. Let the words of my mouth and the meditation of my mind be acceptable before you. Why? Because God is listening. God is monitoring our thoughts that come out of our mind. So let the words of my mouth, but where's the words coming from? Out of the heart/mind, the mouth speaks. So your words are like the dipstick of your heart. You know, you check your oil level, check whether it's clean or empty. Yeah, what comes out is it's an indication of your thoughts, of your mind. That's what Jesus is saying. That's what Yeshua, the Messiah, Yeshua HaMashiach is saying. Out of your mind, you speak. Okay, so now that we get in there, Yeshua's ministry is monitoring our thoughts. Go with me to Mark chapter 2. Mark chapter 2, and look with me to verse 8. Mark chapter 2 and verse 8. Watch this. Mark chapter 2, verse 8. Mark chapter 2, verse 8 says, immediately Yeshua, aware in his spirit that they were reasoning. That's thought. You're reasoning in your mind. That way within himself, he said to them, why are you reasoning about these things in your minds? Because we reason with our mind. We're thinking, right? Human reasoning, stinking thinking, wrong thinking, everything that doesn't line up with truth. Oh my God, has to go, right? Because he's judging. He's helping us to see you're turning to the left, you're turning to the right. This is the spirit of truth, this is the spirit of error. And you have to be aware, guard your thoughts, because all thoughts could if it's not captured by the spirit of living God, could lead us into sin. That's what he's saying, right? So now we understand. So now you understand what Moshe wrote in Genesis concerning this. Go with me to Genesis chapter 6. Oh my God, help us. Genesis chapter 6, verse 5. Now you begin to see. Substitute or anytime you see a heart, think mind, right? So in Genesis chapter 6, verse 5, then Adonai saw that the wickedness of man was great on the earth, and every intent of the thoughts of his mind was only evil continually. Now you begin to see where the issue is, right? It is in the mind, it's in the thoughts. And go across to 8:21, same Genesis, 8:21, Adonai smelled the soothing aroma, and Adonai said to himself, I will never curse the ground on account of man, for the intent of man's mind is evil from his youth. And you see that, look at young people, right? They begin to think, they begin to become cunning. They begin to reason, they begin to lie, they begin to scheme. Why? Because their thoughts are being influenced by the demonic realm. And you see it. By your fruit, you know. By your words, you know. All right? And so, Baruch Hashem. So, Abba is telling us you got to get in there. That's why the heart is desperate and deceitful, right? The mind is desperate and deceitful. So, can I say to you, Hasatan's domain is the realm of darkness and secrecy. Hasatan, the enemy's domain, is the realm of darkness and secrecy. Go with me to Luke chapter 11. Luke chapter 11, because we're uncovering this now by the power of truth, and we're uncovering this. Luke 11, verse 35. Luke 11, verse 35. We have this. Luke 11, verse 35. Watch this. Then watch out that the light in you is not darkness. Here's Yeshua said, watch out that the light in you is not darkness. So it means that the light in us, where we think we see, could very well be darkness. And Yeshua is warning us, take heed, beloved, that the light in you is not darkness. How would you know? Because you could very well be calling darkness light and light darkness, unless you are being informed and instructed by the Spirit of truth, by the word of truth, which is the scripture, right? Genesis to Max. Baruch Hashem. So go with me now to Luke chapter 22. Let's see something else that is playing out here. Luke chapter 22. We're uncovering the thoughts of the mind as Rabbi Yeshua begins to teach us. Genesis 22. Luke 22 from verse 22. Luke chapter 22 from verse 22. For indeed the Son of Man is going as it has been determined, but woe to that man by whom he is betrayed. And they began to discuss among themselves which one of them might do. Who is going to do this thing? That is betray him, right? Come down to verse 24. And there arose also a dispute among them as to which one of them was regarded as what? The greatest. I want you to watch this now, because they are thinking, Messiah said, one of you would betray me. And they're thinking, well, who's going to do this thing? And then they come to this, which one is regarded as the greatest? So what's playing out here? Pride. And what does the proverb tell us? Pride comes before a fall. Because pride is Hasatan, his name be blotted out, inducing a thought of pride into your mind that makes you want to think that you are the greatest. Where did that come from? Who told you? All right, now come up with me to verse 31. Same Luke. Simon, Simon, behold, Hasatan has demanded permission to sift you like wheat. I bless God that he has to ask permission to sift us, right? But the fact that we can be sifted means that there's shaft in us that needs to be put away. And that shaft is the darkness and the secrecy that the enemy traffics in. There's an area, the realm of darkness and the realm of secrecy is what Abba is sifting in our lives, all right? So he said, watch this. But I have prayed for you that your imuna will not fail. And when once you have turned again, that's the shuva, strengthen your brothers so they too will be able to recognize the schemes of the enemy and rebuke and destroy darkness and secrecy in our life. Anything that you have to do under secrecy, you've given yourself over. You've given place to the enemy because he traffics in darkness and secrecy, the prince of darkness, the master of secrecy, underhand dealing. All right, it's not open. It's something that you hide in. It's eat a food kind of thing. It is deception. That's what God is saying to us, right? So you and I now begin to recognize, oh my God, Yeshua is at work here. So can I mention this to us? You know something, brethren, I've come to see? We fall not because we are weak, you know. We fall because we think we are strong. Oh my God. I said we fall because we think we are strong. That's why 1 Corinthians tells us, let him who think he stands. Take heed, lest he fall. The problem comes in our thinking. We think we got this. We think we can handle this. And because we think that, pride enters in, flat on your face. We fall because we think we are strong. But when you and I begin to recognize, oh my God, I submit to you. I know that I am weak in and of myself. I need you, Master. Oh my God, strengthen me. Then the Messiah comes in and strengthens us because no longer are we relying upon my human reasoning and thinking. I'm relying upon the Master who is there to help me. And so let's continue on as we begin to see, submit to God, resist the devil and he will flee. God gives grace to how? Be humble. If you're thinking pride, then God doesn't give you grace. You got to humble yourself, confess our helplessness, rely on the Master. Grace comes, we stop thinking incorrectly, and now we have the victory. So, are you aware of your thoughts? Are you aware of your thought? Are you mindful that God exists? Can I say that again? He who comes to God must believe that he exists. But what does it mean that he exists? You've got to know that God exists. And because he exists, he's a God who is a rewarder and a punisher. You've got to know that. God exists and he is a rewarder and a punisher. You've got to have both of them, right? He is a rewarder and he's a punisher. He's not a God who just overlooks things. He disciplines us. And why? So that we could come to Teshuvah, right? So please keep this in mind. Why does God reveal my sin and your sin? God reveals sin in our thought so that he might destroy the works of the devil. Can I say that? For this reason, the Son of God has been manifested to destroy the works of the devil. So why does God convict you and I of sin? Why does he reveal sin in our minds? Because he wants to show us the works of the devil in our minds. That's why you and I now, we need teshuvah. That's why we need humility. That's why we need a clean mind. And when you operate in that, Hasatan flees, because you submit to God, you have teshuvah, you're humble, your mind is clean, then the enemy must go. Can I give you this? Victory begins in the name of, begins with the name of Yeshua on our lips. Victory begins with the name of Yeshua on our lips, but it will not be consummated until the nature of Yeshua is in our minds. I'll say that again because I want us to get this. Victory begins with the name of Yeshua on our lips. Victory begins with the name of Yeshua on our lips. I confess Yeshua HaMashiach, Yeshua the Messiah, not Jesus Christ, because I'm saying to us, Jesus Christ, you got to transition or grow in grace. It is Jesus the Christ, grow in grace, Yeshua HaMashiach, Yeshua the Messiah. Because now you understand you're not believing in a replacement theology, Jesus Christ, but you're believing in Yeshua the Messiah. All right, you're growing in grace. Begins with your lip. Your confession of him must be correct. Your confession, with the mouth, confession is made, but it must be consummated in our hearts. So victory begins with the name of Yeshua on our lips, but it will not be consummated until the nature of Yeshua is in our minds. And that's what we're talking about, right? Yeshua has to dwell in our minds by faith and faithfulness. That's what he's talking about. What heart? It means your thinking now must be Yeshua. To live is Yeshua. As a man thinks, so is he. So what are we? We are really a manifestation of our thoughts. As a man thinks in his mind, so is he. So who are you? You are what you think. Oh my God. So we begin to see this. Go with me to 2 Corinthians 10. 2 Corinthians 10. Oh God. 2 Corinthians 10 from verse 3 and 5. For though we walk in the flesh, we do not war in the flesh. For the weapons of our warfare are not of the flesh, but divinely powerful for the destruction of fortresses, for the destroying of speculations and every lofty thing raised up against the knowledge of God, and taking every thought captive to the obedience of the Messiah. Notice I said taken captive to the obedience of the Messiah. I didn't just say taken to the obedience of Christ. Because if Christ, you don't understand what Christ is, then you have been taken captive by another Christ. But when you say the Christ, you're being very particular, very specific, and you are talking about, I'm trusting God, that you are talking about the Jewish Messiah. Because there are many other Christs, but we are talking about the Jewish Messiah who upholds Torah. In the name of Yeshua, the Jewish Messiah who upholds Torah, I command the spirit of error to leave the people of God. Oh my God. So look at these strongholds. What are strongholds? What are these strongholds? They are demonically fortified thought patterns. What a stronghold? A demonically fortified thought pattern. Are you seeing that? A stronghold is really a house of thoughts. A stronghold is a demonically fortified thought pattern. A stronghold is a house of thought. So what are your fortress? What's your fortress? Your thought patterns. Go with me to 1 Samuel. Got to go back to the Tanakh. Blessed be God. Go back to the Tanakh. Find 1 Samuel for me. And let's go to chapter 23. Watch this. 1 Samuel chapter 23. You're going to just take a look, one text. Verse 19. Then the Ziphites came up to Saul at Gibeah, saying, is David not hiding with us in the strongholds at Horesh? on the hill of Hakila, which is on the south of Jeshimon. What is he saying? David is hiding in the stronghold at Horesh. What is this stronghold? It is a powerful, vigorously protected spiritual reality. So now you begin to see what's happening here. Your stronghold in your mind, your house of thoughts, is vigorously protected. That's why you and I will defend ourselves into the lake of fire. Because demons have fortified your thoughts, and you protect that. You're hiding behind that because you refuse to come into the light. You take refuge in lies, evil thoughts, and you are deceived, and you protect yourself behind that. A brother offended, you're offended, you protect yourself behind that. Demonically fortified thought patterns. Nebuchadnezzar had, when he was making his bricks for Babylon, every brick had his signature. Well, I'm asking, the thoughts that you have, does it have Yeshua or does it have father of lies? Because you see, any thought that has signed father of lies, you know, you would defend that from now until. Oh my God, help us. All right. So we're beginning to see that Yeshua is revealing the thoughts of our mind. But I have good news for us. Go with me to Luke chapter 11, because when Yeshua comes, the thoughts of minds would be revealed. And that's what's happening now. Even right now, I know that the Spirit of truth is uncovering our mind. He's looking at what you're thinking. Your minds are being monitored right now. Your thoughts are being monitored. Let the words of my mouth and the thoughts and meditation of my mind be acceptable. If it's not, I bring it into captivity to the obedience of the Messiah, the Jewish Messiah who upholds Torah. I'm taking a chance to say that because there is another Jesus who is called Christ, but doesn't uphold Torah. That's the spirit of error. That's the spirit of deception. That's the spirit that turns you away. But someone stronger is here, right? So Luke chapter 11, verse 21. When a strong man, fully armed, guards his own house, that's the house of thoughts, that's your stronghold. His possessions are undisturbed. Are you seeing the picture? Undisturbed. You have never been challenged, so you're good. I'm okay, not challenged, but by God's grace, may he comfort the afflicted and afflict the comforted. By the Spirit of truth, may he comfort the afflicted and afflict the comforted. May God disturb us. May God trouble us. That's what God is wanting to do. Because undisturbed, we good. We're okay. We're not too bad. God is coming to disturb us today. Stir it up. All right, Baruch Hashem. But when someone stronger than he attacks him, Yeshua is that stronger one, and overpowers him. He takes away from him all his armor. That's the fortress. That's the house of thought. That's the protection. That's the stronghold, right? On which he relied, and distributes his plunder. May that be so for us, brethren. May it be that the Spirit of truth comes and shatters that stronghold, that demonically house of thought, so that every thought that doesn't have the signature of Yeshua only falls flat. And begin to build again on the rock, on the foundation, with the thought, the mind of Yeshua. And you should want no brick in your foundation, no brick in your structure that has father of lies. You shouldn't want that. You and I shouldn't want any brick that has evil. You shouldn't want that. Lord, I take it out. And probably right now, when you take it out, everything will begin to come from Baruch Hashem. You build again. But now you build on the right foundation. Your thoughts are the Yeshua, the Jewish Messiah, the true prophet who never abandoned Torah. That's the one that you want to build on, right? So as we continue on, I wanted to see that the essence of who we are is really our thought life. The essence of who I am is my thought life. Why? Because as I think in my mind, so am I. Because we speak comes out of our mind. What we act in, we think about it first. So you plan your day. While you plan, you're thinking about what you're going to do. And that's why God said that's where the battle is. And that's where the victory must come. You must register the victory that God has given to you and I by overcoming the enemy. I said, listen, I'm not going to entertain that thought. It comes from the realm of darkness and secrecy. I want nothing to do with it. I want no benefit from it. I dislodge it from my thinking. I expel that. This thought of fear and this thought of failure. Come on, where is that coming from? Not from God. Through Messiah, I can do all things through Christ, through the Messiah who strengthens me. Perfect love casts out fear. You see, you begin to battle. You use the thoughts and ways of God to combat the evil thoughts of the enemy. Because out of the mind comes what? Evil thoughts. The enemy demonically inspires us, and we begin to think those words, and now we begin to speak them and act them like if that is us. But that's not us. That's our false self. You got to begin to discern now. If it doesn't line up with scripture, false. Oh my God. So these strongholds, I want us to see that God is saying to us, strongholds build in our mind from the world. It builds in our mind from experiences. It builds in our mind from wrong doctrines. How did these strongholds build? Well, we were in the world. We were of the world. The prince of darkness, the prince of the power, we were of him. So we imbibe all sorts of wrong thoughts. And our experiences, all of that. That's why you have flashbacks. Those memories come back. And of course, wrong doctrine. Sincere, but sincerely wrong. You didn't eat the unleavened bread of sincerity and truth. So you got to see where these strongholds are coming from, and you got to begin to register the victory of the cross of truth over that error, that lie. So, oh my God, we're continuing on, but I want us to begin to see it. So I want you to see the strongholds. Demons are behind that, and I want us to see that God, look at the characteristics of demons. Because you got to know this, right? Is it demonically inspired thoughts, right? But look what the activities of demons. Demons entice, demons harass, all right? That's why the problems and situations, they're harassing us. Demons torment with all sorts of suggestions, right? Despair, emotional, physical. Demons compel. You see people biting their nails or tongue or sucking their thumb or doing something that they seem to have no control over. Where's that coming from? Suck your tongue, suck your tongue, suck your tongue. A thinking, and you just acting it out, right? You got to stop that record, right? Demons enslave, alcohol and other addiction. Demons defy, they project evil into our mind, impure images. Demons deceive, all form of religious deception, and demons make people sick and unnaturally tired. It comes from demons, and you and I have to begin to recognize, where's this thought coming from? Is this from the realm of truth, or is this from the realm of error and lies? Because demons are behind that, right? So you and I begin to see what God is doing. Now go with me to Exodus chapter 20. Exodus chapter 20, you have this verse, but in the Torah, God give us a command. He says here in the Torah, verse 17, you shall not covet your neighbor's house. You shall not covet. Where is that taking place? In the mind, in the thought. So what God is saying, you have these 10 commandments, right? But do you know that it's because of our coveting we end up breaking the other 9? Yes, because of our thinking. Because of our thinking, because of our wrong thinking, because out of the abundance of the heart, there's covetousness, there's wrong thinking, there's error, then you want to do all the other things that are forbidden. Why? Because not good thoughts coming, evil thoughts are coming. And God is very much aware of the thoughts that come out of your heart and mind. That's what he said in Deuteronomy chapter 8. Don't think my hand and my power have got me this mind. That's a thought that comes into my mind. You see, wrong thinking. Again, if your thoughts are not built on the foundation of Yeshua, the Jewish Messiah who upholds Torah, then you could think incorrectly. You could think, well, it's my power, my might. You're thinking it, but it's wrong. It's error. And God is exposing that, this shattering the secrecy, bringing us into the light so that we could confess and that the blood of Yeshua cleanses. But if we defend, if we protect, then you hide and hide behind that thought, and you stay with that into the lake of fire. But blessed be God, he is delivering us, right? So don't say in your heart. Look with me to Deuteronomy chapter 15, verse 9. God knows our mind. In Deuteronomy chapter 15, verse 9, speaking about the year of release, he said, beware that there be no base thought in your mind saying the 7th year, then your eye is hostile towards your brother. Notice what God is saying, a base thought. Where did that base thought come from? Your mind. God is reading our minds. He's monitoring our mind. That's why you and I have to be so careful, because God knows our mind. God knows our thoughts. So we need to cultivate, hear me, brethren, we need to cultivate constant awareness of the fear of God. Can I say that again? We need to cultivate constant awareness of the fear of God. so that we could be in the fear of God all day long. The Proverbs said, be you in the fear of God all day long. Why? Because if we are not in the fear of God, then we will allow all sorts of thoughts to be thought, and we will speak all sorts of words, and we'll do all sorts of things because we don't know we are being monitored. But if you and I begin to know we're being monitored, then we will be more circumspect in how we think, what we think, when we think, and what we speak, because our words are just the dress of our thoughts. That's what's happening. Oh my God. So I find that there's a serious lack of teachings on the fear of God. Go with me to Leviticus chapter 25. Leviticus chapter 25. Leviticus 25, I'm going to look at verse 17. Leviticus 25, verse 17. Watch this. So you shall not wrong one another. All right. So if you wrong a person, you start to think about it first, right? You shall not wrong one another, but shall fear your God. I am Adonai your God. In other words, I am Adonai your God, who is monitoring whether you're going to fear me by not wronging your neighbor. Are you seeing what's happening? Unless you and I have a constant awareness of God, we will do what? Wrong our neighbor. That's what God is saying. So don't wrong your neighbor, but that's linked with you shall fear God. Because if you're fearing God, if you have a constant awareness that God is his eyes are moving to and fro, then you would treat your neighbor with respect, with kindness, because you would submit to that neighbor out of the fear of God. Even though that neighbor is acting hostile towards you, you look at the image of God in that person, and because of the image of God and you fear God, you still love your neighbor. But if you put God out of your thoughts, then what do? Wrong our neighbor. So it begins with our thoughts, right? So God is saying to us, listen, learn to fear God. So what I want to do quickly is to go through some scriptures on the fear of God. All right? Or he just give you them so that you could think about them and have God to really flesh them out with you. So go with me to Genesis 22, verse 12. Genesis 22, verse 12. So we're looking now at the fact that God, we are aware of God. We're constantly aware of our Father and our King. If you're constantly aware, you know that he's monitoring what your thoughts, and he's more concerned about your thought life. Remember, Psalm 24 says, who would approach God? He who has a clean hands and what? A pure heart. So the Pharisees were concerned about what? A clean hand, but not a pure mind. That's what he said. You need to have both, ideally, but we are more concerned about a pure mind. That's what he's saying to us, brethren. And when we do that, we don't lift up our soul. We're not deceitful because our mind is pure. Out of the heart, the mind, the mouth speaks. And the pure in mind will see what God is doing. That now the scriptures begin to come to place, right? So Genesis 22, verse 12. He said, do not stretch out your hand against the ladder. Do nothing, for now I know that you what? Fear God. What do you mean? Now you know. God already knew that Abraham feared God. So why is this written here? So that you and I would learn how to fear God. So that you and I would know what fearing God looks like. Fearing God looks like not withholding anything from God. That's what fearing God. Abraham already feared God. Now I know. I'm writing that for your children, Abraham, because I know you. But your children need to know that their father feared me by withholding nothing. To what? Let me keep back something. Who gave you that thought? Ask Ananias and Sapphira. That wicked thought came into their mind. They held it back and they end up being dead. But the children of Abraham fear God because we withhold nothing. Why? Because God withholds nothing from them who walk uprightly. God doesn't withhold, so why should I withhold? To fear God is to not withhold anything from God, right? So quickly again, go in Exodus 18. You see about the people, Exodus 18:21. Choose men who fear God and put them to lead. Why? Because if a man fears God, they will understand how to treat their neighbor right. They wouldn't lord it over people because they fear God. They know that they have somebody up there. They fear God. That's the kind of people that I want to say, God, I will raise up men who fear God. You tremble. You're not a Rav pleaser. You're not a rabbi pleaser. Come on. God is looking. You fear God. That is the person that we want to rule and lead over our small groups and Torah clubs and congregations. You fear God. Oh my God. Go with me also.